Hello guys, and welcome to episode 6. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to something that I'm constantly still learning, I haven't mastered, and by the title you're going to tell it's something that cannot be taught, and that's patience. So during this episode, I'm going to share a few stories regarding a few different aspects of my life where this has shown how important patience can be, and that includes investing, my career, and other parts of my life. And I hope that helps you guys understand how important that is going to be for your growth throughout your life. So let's kick it off. My name is Nathan, and this is Millennial Learnings. In life at the moment, I see everywhere that people are just trying to rush. They're trying to be a millionaire really quick. They're trying to buy their first property really quick. They're trying to travel the world as fast as they can, have kids, grow up, all those sort of things. And I was the same, and to be honest with you, I probably still am. And that's the reason why I'm doing this episode, is I've made some massive mistakes in my life so far simply because I wasn't patient. And I hope by the end of this episode, you take one thing, or you look at one part of your life that you're really trying to push through and you're trying to run through, and you just have some patience. And someone who talks about this a lot, and I'm a massive fan of, and he's one of the mentors that I follow throughout my life, is Gary Vaynerchuk. So if you haven't checked him out, go on YouTube, Instagram, he's got podcasts. He is everywhere, and he is a massive believer in patience. And he's as honest as you can possibly imagine. So jump onto Gary Vaynerchuk, or I think it's at Gary V on Instagram. Check him out and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But in my life, for example, I've got a few different stories where I've looked at moving forward very quickly and haven't had the patience, and it's blown up in my face, or I look back now and think about where I could have been. And one of those is actually Bitcoin. Now, I told myself I wouldn't talk about Bitcoin in this format because I'm not a believer in investing in it for long-term investment, in my opinion, but obviously don't take that. That's not something I'm here to discuss about. But I'm going to talk about when it was cheap, right? And I had people telling me, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. And so I bought a few back when it was around about, I think it was $1,000 or $2,000. And I had a few Bitcoins. And at the time, I wish someone just said, just hold on to it and it'll just keep going up. And I think at the time of recording, it's sitting at 72 grand, right? So patience is going to be very clear once I get to the end of this and you understand. But there's also people saying, Bitcoin's just an easy way of making money. And all I wanted was quick cash because I wanted to grow my wealth and I wanted to do all these cool things with money. And that was my main motivation back in the day. Lots changed now, but I sold at $5,000, right? I sold all my Bitcoin at $5,000, made a handy profit, which I thought was massive, right? I was 19, I think it was at the time, or 20, and making a few grand cash seemed like a really cool thing. And looking back now, I would have been sitting on over $200,000 if I just held on. And obviously that's not related to personal life, but this will all relate to further investment talks in future episodes. But it's a big lot of money that I lost because I wasn't patient. And it's not just Bitcoin. I did the same with Tesla. And this will all make sense in future investment discussions about the mistakes I made there. But I bought Tesla when it was $250 a share. And before it split, so I had 4 shares at $250. At the moment with the split, I'd have 8 shares, double that. So I split into 4, I'd have 4 times that, so I have 16 shares. And I think at the moment they're sitting around about that $400 to $500. So again, that's something that I just thought investments and things like that was just quick cash. You don't hold on to things because one day you'll lose the money, but that's all changed. And that was the biggest lesson for me looking back now as to the reason why I've changed my whole investment strategy now, was for that exact reason. So when you're looking at doing things in life, and that's what I mean, if you take one thing out of this, it doesn't have to be investment, it can be the other stories I'm going to talk about, but just take one thing, look at what you're doing now, and it's probably going to be you're rushing through it, and it might cost you in the future. The other things that I learnt with patience is actually got to do with career. So I started off in real estate at 18, and I started off at a place where they had me prospecting. So all I was doing was door knocking and making phone calls for other agents. And very quickly I just went, I want to be an agent, and I rushed through it, quit that job and went and worked as a PA. And to be honest with you, I probably threw that all away. At the time I was a personal assistant. I should have been taking it in and learning as much as I can, remembering that I'm still young, right? And that's going to be the end point of this. But instead I just went, I think I can do this. And I started working my own thing in the background. And after a few months, the agent that I was working for just said, look, if you're not here to specifically work for me, go work for yourself. And that's what I did. And I was burnt out in 6 months after that. Okay. If I'd stuck to it and I just learnt all the things that I've learnt now, I probably would have been more successful at the time, and I would probably still would have stuck around, probably would have ended up going out on my own a couple of years later and kicking it off a lot easier than what I'm going to have to now. And the reason why I talk about that, and anyone that knows me on a personal level knows that I'm not a big believer in study. I'm not a big believer in school or university unless it's absolutely required for the job you need, like a doctor or a nurse. That's very much needed. But real life skills and learning through other people that have been successful, reading books, working for free if you have to for a guy that's doing really well or a girl that's done really well in the business you want to work in will be 100% the best thing you'll ever do for your life. Even if you believe it sets you back 12 months or 3 months or 3 years, trust me, if I knew now, if I back then knew what I knew now, I'd be in a whole different part of my life right now. And I think that's really important to know that you're young. Most of the people that are listening to this podcast at the moment are between 18 and 27 years old, right? We're still fucking young. We've got so much time ahead of us. I know people that are just turning 50 now and it's just clicked, all right? They're now successful. They're now they're doing a career that makes them happy. They've now started doing all these things that are going to move them forward, but they went through some shit to get there, right? They went from job to job trying to find where they belonged in life. And yeah, look, they started a bit later, but they found where they need to be and they've had some experiences along the way. And I'm not saying wait till you're 50 to start doing stuff. Do stuff now if you can, but don't put enough pressure on yourself that it makes it harder for you to start. If your dream is to get into real estate, do it. Do the course online, get it done, and just find someone that'll hire you. Work as a PA. Trust me when I say you'll learn the most as a PA than if you just do it straight up yourself. Work nights, work weekends, work whatever you can to learn as much as you can. Listen to podcasts, read books, go to training, pay for training, these sort of things in life. And same thing if you want to be a photographer, take the plunge, go take photos of shit, right? Just walk around a park and take photos of stuff and post them online and just keep posting and posting and posting. And again, this is stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about. So if you want a really in-depth discussion about how this will affect your life, listen to Gary V's podcast or him on YouTube or on Instagram. He posts some really cool stuff. So that leads to another part of my life that's, I guess I rushed through, and this is again going to lead to further episodes in the future, but it was buying things, right? Cars, houses, just stuff that you think you need really quick, but you can live without, or you can live with a cheaper option. So for example, when I went through some crapper cars, okay? So I had one of my cars blow up, and I just figured I just need a car quick. And I just went, you know what, screw it. I'm going to get a personal loan. I'm going to buy the first car I saw, which is exactly what I did. And about, I think it was 6 months later, that car blew up as well. And it was a personal loan, unsecured. So there's nothing you can do, right? You're now paying off a loan for nothing. And so in a rush, I figured I need a car. I didn't have much cash behind me. I thought I have to be driving something nice because I'm young and I'm an idiot, right? That's pretty much, now that I look back, that's 100% would be the frame of mind that I was in. And I went out and I ended up buying this car. It was a $20,000 car. It was well overpriced for what it was. And I didn't read the contract of the finance. I told him how much I wanted to spend weekly. And 12 months later, I finally read the terms and conditions because I started in the car industry and I found out some of the things that the financiers within the car industry were doing. And I was paying 15.99% over a 7-year period. Okay, so to break that down, it was a $20,000 car that was going to cost me $49,000 just for the metal, not including on-road costs, not including fuel, all this sort of stuff. And it was because I rushed. It's because I didn't stop and go, I've got time. I can drive a $500 car if I have to. I can take a bus. I can bloody walk and ride a bike and work this out slower. But in my head, I just thought, I have to get this done. This is the easiest way. It's a brand new car. There's no way it'll ever break down and it'll do me well. And it was the biggest setback I had in my life, because once I figured it out, I had to sell it. And after 12 months of owning it, I still owed $10,000 more than what I paid for the car and what I could sell it for. So you had to come up with the cash to get out of the car, and then you had no car from there. Anyway, that's the whole other story, and I'm going to talk about this in very much in depth in a vehicle-specific episode. But what I'm trying to get at is, don't rush things, right? These are mistakes that I've made in my life, and you may not be making those mistakes. You may be making completely different ones. You might be rushing into relationships because you think that you have to be in a relationship young, and you've got friends that are getting married, you've got friends that are having babies, and you think, oh shit, I've got to catch up. You don't. Work at your own pace. Work at what makes you happy. Work in a way that's going to help you move forward in life, and stop and think. If you're in a relationship and you're not happy, you're probably rushing into it. You just want to be in a relationship because it's the way to go. Get out. You've got time. You'll never, ever be too late, all right? Until it's too late when you're dead, all right? That's probably getting a bit harsh, but it's the truth. Remember, you're still young, right? I'm 25 this year, and it's still young, and I keep having to tell myself that, and that's why the title is, it cannot be taught, but it can be learned. And I'm no master. I'm still learning every day. If you talk to my fiance, trust me, I can be the most impatient person. I'm constantly pushing myself to move forward as fast as I can. And I've got to keep reminding myself that I'm young and that I've got time. And if I make mistakes, there's still time to come up with it. If you've been bankrupt in your life and you're 24, you've got time to recover and keep moving forward, all right? And that might not be related, but I hope that there was something within this episode that relates to you, that you can take into your life and you can slow the fuck down, all right? I'm gonna end it there. Thank you so much for listening or watching, whichever platform you're on. I really do appreciate the support. I'm doing this so that other people my age or growing up at a younger age at the moment can understand some of the mistakes you're going to make, or listen to this and try not to make those same mistakes. I hope you learned something. Enjoy, share it around, leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, and I'll speak to you next time around again. My name's Nathan, and this was Millennial Learnings.